No,
Hiya.
no, I can't see you.
Um, my video is on.
Can you see yourself?
Strange. I can't see myself.
Hmm. I just see your name.
How about now?
Hmm.
I can see myself now.
Can you? No, I still can't see.
Hmm. Okay. Stopping video, starting video.
Hmm.
Will I maybe leave the meeting and rejoin?
Look, I have a button that says ask to start video.
Go ahead, press that.
There, I pressed it. Oh, there. Yeah.
Now, now I see you.
Yeah. Hello. Ah, nice to see you.
Yeah, sorry about your little one. Is he
Oh, that's
on
okay.
the mend or?
Yeah, he's been sick for about a week already. I thought he'd be better. He was better for a day or two, then he was sick again. He had the
Hmm.
flu, and now he has
Hmm.
like sore ear.
Okay.
Yeah. He's pretty much okay. He seems like he's not that sick today, but just nothing's going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We had our share of that both as kids and with kids, so
Yeah.
not not unfamiliar.
Yeah. You've been away on holidays and things like that?
I've been to Madeira. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yes. It's beautiful. Wow.
Oh
It's
dear.
just the
Hold on. Sorry. There
Go
might be a
ahead.
little noise here. I have to shut the window.
Okay.
Hold on for a moment. Okay, I hope the noise won't be bad. Can't hear it now. They're putting down a tree in my neighbour's garden, and it's very noisy.
Oh,
I know it is a thing. It's actually in our garden.
okay.
Done already. They're doing the end of it now. Yeah,
Ah.
I had my trauma like that.
Mm. Yeah, Madeira, beautiful. Highly recommend visiting if you can. Beautiful views. The ocean is just incredible from, up in the hills.
Mm,
There's not a lot of beach, but there are soft water pools, sorry, seawater pools that they've made all around the island that you can sort of go to near the water's edge and then swim in kind of a safe or enclosed area.
that sounds
And
interesting.
and there's great hiking and low prices. Your euros will go far,
Yeah,
and friendly people and nice weather.
yeah.
And this is where uh, Cornelia Sarjana, my wife, first encountered Portugal. And after the second time being there with her mom, she said, "We got to move there." And here we are.
Yeah, cool. So it's actually part of Portugal.
It's a Portuguese island.
Okay.
Yes.
Thought it was belonging to
Yeah.
Spain for some reason. Tell me about that noise. Can you hear that noise a lot?
It's very low, very
Oh,
soft. It's not distracting.
okay. Very distracting for me. No, hopefully it
Oh,
won't be
sorry.
distracting. That is loud here. So we're on a new chapter today. Wisdom. Chapter 9. Wisdom.
All right.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what's in here. The long chapter. 167 verses.
It's a big one. So we're sort of he's wrapping it up now, I think, is what's happening.
Yeah. You think he knows that? Yeah, it's kind of
Um,
pretty much the last chapter. There's another one, dedication, but that's usually kind of worshiping the guru type of thing. Or does he?
yeah,
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 dedicating all of these sorts of things. So yeah, wrapping it up.
yeah. And I think he does. I think he does know what he's up to here.
Okay.
And
You've probably studied
over
it
the
in advance, have you?
sorry?
You've probably studied it in advance.
No, no. I mean, I've
Yeah.
read it once, but it's been a long time now, so I'll be encountering fresh with you.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Because I don't have my earphones today because they started to not work properly. I'll have to get a new pair.
No, I'm hearing fine.
Yeah, okay. So shall I read a few verses?
Please.
Okay. All these branches of the doctrine the enlightened sage expounded for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, they must cultivate this wisdom who wish to have an end to suffering. Relative and ultimate, these the two truths are declared to be. The ultimate is not within the reach of intellect, for intellect is said to be the relative. In light of this, within the world, two kinds of people are observed. those with yogic insight, and the common run of people. In this regard, the views of ordinary folk are undermined by yogis who themselves are in the world. This is very simple. And when I discovered this, like I discovered it in a really simple way, so I'm going to say it in the really simple way. I think it was really simple. So I went and did a Vipassana course, and I remember coming back and being like so happy because it occurred to me that this was my way of understanding it with my simple kind of mind. I came back really happy and I said, like, aware, I was talking to my housemate at the time. I think she probably thought I was crazy. I was like, awareness is going to win. I was like, there's no way awareness can't win. And I said, because the mind needs awareness, but awareness doesn't need the mind. It's just
Mm,
like, I was just
mm,
like, wow. And I was full of joy, that's because it kind of seemed like there's this kind of fight inside, like when you're at peace. When you're at peace, like awareness is still here. There's nothing really here but awareness. It's like that. But when like the mind is troubling us, it kind of seems like there's an argument or some kind of fight inside us or something. So I think that's why I understood it like a fight, even though it's not really a fight at all. But I think that's a very simple way of understanding it, that the mind can't exist by itself, really, and that's the relative, and that's
mm,
what mostly day to day we're all people like are we're all caught up in. We're caught up
mm.
in stories of the mind, this and that, and all even different perspectives. They're all of the mind. But beyond the mind is what word do they use? It? Ultimate. The ultimate is
Mm.
not within the reach of the intellect. Like it can't be
Mm.
because it's here existing before the intellect, before the mind. So I don't know.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But yeah, I remember being like so happy like to realize that. It was just like, yeah, yeah. And I don't think my flatmate knew what I was talking about. She was just like, oh, okay, okay. Like, and I think even at that time I didn't quite realize how like impactful that can be, as it goes on and as the kind of seeing like the impact of that seeing and what that really means as that kind of settles in and sinks in, then it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of very normal and ordinary, but it's also very amazing as well. So at that time I didn't really realize how like amazing it is. It was just like just felt happy because the mind is not going to win. Like there's no chance that it can.
Well, just hearing it and feeling some of the some of the, powerful joy you're putting out, it just kind of sweeps away this house of cards, the thoughts building on themselves. Oh, don't need those.
Within whose ranks the lower, in degrees of insight, are confuted by the higher, by means of the examples that the yogis and the worldly both accept, and for the sake of the result, analysis is left aside. When ordinary folk perceive phenomena, they look on them as real and not illusory. This, then, is the subject of debate, where ordinary and yogis differ. Forms and so forth, which we all perceive, exist by general acclaim, but not by valid reasoning. They're false, just like, for instance, unclean things, regarded in the common view as pure. But that he might instruct the worldly, our protector spoke of things, but these in truth lack even momentariness. Now, if you say it's wrong to claim the momentary as relative, there is no fault, for momentariness is relative for yogis, but for worldly beings, ultimate. Were it otherwise, the common view could fault the yogic insight into corporal impurity. Through a Buddha who is but illusion, how does merit spring? As if the Buddha were existing truly. But, you ask, if beings are like illusions, how, when dying, can they take rebirth? As long as the conditions are assembled, illusions likewise will persist and manifest. Why, through simply being more protracted, should sentient beings be regarded as more real? If one kills or harms the magical illusion of a man, there is no mind in such a thing, and therefore there's no sin. But beings do indeed have mirage-like minds. Sin and merit will, in consequence, arise. There is no power in things like spells, so mirage-like minds do not occur through them. Illusions spring from various causes, thus illusions are of different kinds. A single cause for everything, there never was. If ultimately beings are in nirvana, you will say, but relatively circle in samsara. Even Buddhahood reverts to the samsaric state. So why, you ask, pursue the bodhisattva path? As long as there is no cutting of the causal stream, there is no halting even of illusory displays. But when the causal stream is severed, even relative phenomena do not appear. If even that which is deceived does not exist, what is it, you will ask, that sees illusion? But if, for you, these same illusions have no being, what indeed is there to be perceived? But objects have another mode of being, you will say. That very mode is but the mind itself. But if the mirage is the mind itself, what is then perceived by what? The guardian of the world himself has said that mind cannot be seen by mind. In just the same way, he has said, the sword's edge cannot cut the sword. But, you say, it's like the flame that perfectly illuminates itself. The flame, in fact, can never light itself. And why? Because the darkness never dims it. The blueness of a thing, by nature blue, you say, depends, unlike a crystal, upon nothing else. Likewise, some perceptions come from other things, while some do not. But something that's by nature blue has never of itself imposed a blueness on its non-blue self. The phrase, the lamp illuminates itself, the mind can know and formulate. But what is there to know and say that mind is self-illuminating? The mind, indeed, is never seen by anything, and therefore, whether it can know or cannot know itself is like the beauty of a barren woman's daughter, something that it's pointless to discuss. But if, you ask, the mind is not self-knowing, how does it remember what it knew? It's kind of like it's kind of, he's talking in a very funny way. It's kind of like a riddle, but it's not really a riddle, but he's putting out good points, like the kind of questions that a mind would ask, to dispel those ideas. I like that. We say that, like the poison of the water rat, it's through the link. In certain cases, you will say, the mind can see the minds of others. How then not itself? But through the application of a magic balm, the eye may see the treasure, but the salve it does not see. It's not indeed our purpose to disprove experiences of sight or sound or knowing. Our aim is here to undermine the cause of sorrow, the thought that such phenomena have true existence. Illusions are not other than the mind, you say, and yet you don't consider them the same. How could they not be different if the mind is real? And how can mind be real if you deny a difference? Although it is unreal, a mirage can be seen, and that which sees is just the same. But samsara must be based on something real, you say, or else it is like empty space. But how could the unreal be causally effective, even if it rests on something real? This mind of yours is isolated and alone, alone in solitude and unaccompanied. If the mind indeed is free of objects, all beings must be Buddhas, thus gone and enlightened. And so, what purpose can there be in saying thus that there is only mind? Even if we know that all is like illusion, how, you ask, will this dispel afflictive passion? Magicians may indeed themselves desire the mirage women they themselves create. The reason is they have not rid themselves of habits of desiring objects of perception, and when they gaze upon such things, their aptitude for emptiness is weak indeed. By training in this aptitude for emptiness, the habit to perceive real things will be relinquished. By training in the thought there isn't anything, this view itself will also be abandoned. There is nothing. When this is asserted, no thing is there to be examined. How can a nothing, wholly unsupported, rest before the mind as something present? When something and its non-existence both are absent from before the mind, no other option does the latter have. It comes to perfect rest, from concepts free. As the wishing jewel and tree of miracles, fulfill and satisfy all hopes and wishes. Likewise, through their prayers for those who might be trained, the physical appearance of the conquerors occurs. The healing shrine of the Garuda, even when its builder was long dead, continued even ages thence, to remedy and soothe all plagues and venom. Likewise, having gained the shrine of victory, in accordance with their deeds for sake of Buddhahood, though bodhisattvas pass beyond all grief, they yet can satisfy all ends. But how, you ask, can offerings made to beings freed from all discursiveness give fruit? It's said that whether Buddhas live or pass beyond, the offerings made to them are equal in their merit. Whether you assert them in the ultimate or relative, merit, so the scriptures say, arises. Just as there will be results when Buddhas are considered truly real. We're free, you say, through seeing the four truths. What use is it to us, this view of emptiness? But as the scriptures have themselves proclaimed, without this path there can be no enlightenment. You say the Mahayana has no certainty, but how do you substantiate your own tradition? Because it is accepted by both parties, you will say. But at the outset, you yourself lacked proof. The reasons why you trust in your tradition may likewise be applied to Mahayana. Moreover, if accord between two parties shows the truth, the Vedas and the rest are also true. Mahayana is at fault, you say, because it is contested. But Buddhist texts are questioned by extremists, while Buddhists also vie among themselves. And so your own tradition you must now abandon. The true monk is the root of Dharma, and to be a monk is difficult indeed. It's hard for minds enmeshed in thoughts to pass beyond the bonds of suffering. You say there's liberation in the instant that defilements are entirely forsaken. Yet those who from defilements are set free continue to display the influence of karma. Only for a while, you say, for it is certain that the causes of rebirth, their cravings, are no more. They have no craving granted through defilement, but like their ignorance, why should they not have craving undefiled? This craving is produced by virtue of sensation, and sensation this they surely have. Concepts linger still within their minds, and it is to these concepts that they cling. The mind that has not realized voidness may be halted, but will once again arise, just as from a non-perceptual absorption. Therefore, one must train in emptiness. If all the words recorded in the sutras you admit to be the Buddha's perfect speech, why don't you now accept the greater part of Mahayana, with which your sutras are in perfect harmony? If due to just a single jarring element, the whole is held to be at fault, why should a single sutra in agreement with your texts not vindicate the rest as Buddha's teaching? Mahakashyapa himself and others could not sound the depths of such a teaching, who will therefore say that they're to be rejected, just because they are not grasped by you. To linger and abide within samsara, freed from every craving and from every fear, in order to achieve the good of those who ignorantly suffer. Such is the fruit that emptiness will bear. Therefore, it is incorrect to find fault with this view of emptiness, and so, with every doubt abandoned, we should meditate on it. Something?
I find that I'm like I can't plant my feet on anything. Like I'm sort of spinning a little bit here.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
can like see this sort of, what can I hold on to here? You know.
oh yeah. Well, that's good. That must be the that must be the point. It's like you can't hold on to anything. You have to even give up your teachings and everything. He said everything, everything, everything. And that's like the, I don't know if he said like the practice of emptiness. And we need to get like practice being that, like not grasping anything, not holding anything, not really not having any concepts at all, and practice that because otherwise the mind is going to rise up again, as long as they kind of live inside us, you know, and we're not practiced in being in emptiness. So this is our chance to practice that when we're here, like when the form and everything is here already, seemingly. He's saying it's not really, so seemingly here. So when it's seemingly here and we're in an like embodied state, we can practice actually recognizing what our truth is, which is beyond all phenomenon and beyond all ideas, and practice it in a like what you're saying, like there's nothing you can hold on to. It's yeah, it's really just being that and practice being that. And someone might say, well, how can you practice being that? And it's really just because you're already that. Like you can't make yourself be something that you're not, but you can give up all the false things that we do, like
Mm.
tuning into like false concepts and giving them like too much attention. And really, like you said, like there's nothing that you can grasp. So what we can do is we can stop grasping so much. And we just do it to the capacity we can, and I think our capacity for that grows and grows, so maybe at some times in the day we can do it a little bit, but then maybe sometimes when we take time to sit and really like focus, you can do better, and then our capacity increases, I think, over time, and that's the value of time, really.
Beautiful. Again, you're more than 50 verses in, and so many just went by, and I saw myself going, "Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that.
Yeah,
Oh, wait,
I know.
this
Would you like,
chapter is, you could spend
I
your
know.
academic career on it."
Yeah. Would you like to read a few verses?
Where are we? 54?
Yeah.
Afflictive passion and the veil upon cognition, the cure for their obscurity is emptiness. How then shall they not meditate on this who wish for swift attainment of omniscience? Whatever is the source of suffering, let that be the object of our fear. But voidness will allay our every grief. How could it be for us a thing of dread? If such a thing as I exists indeed, then terrors granted will torment it. But since no self or I exists at all, what is there left for fears to terrify? The teeth, the hair, the nails are not the eye, and I is not the bones or blood. The mucus from the nose or phlegm are not the eye, and neither is it made of lymph or pus.
Getting
The eye
creative.
is not the. Hmm?
He's
But
making it sound all like tuning into all the bits that makes it sound like disgusting. Because like we just take ourselves to be the body and we're happy about it. Usually, it's like, yeah, I'm this person here, and we walk around proudly, yeah, I'm this person. But like if you actually break it down, it's like this, like what is the body, and he's saying like all the things, like the bones and the blood and the mucus. Like, and then when you break it down, it's like you can agree with it more easily. Maybe it's like, yeah, I'm not lymph or pus or phlegm. It's like, yeah, I'll agree to not be them. But that's really like all what a body is. Like it's made up of all these things. He's making us the way he puts it like that. It's easy to be like, okay, yeah, I'm not that. Yeah, I can agree. I can agree I'm not
all
that.
of them equally revolting.
Yeah.
The eye is not the body's grease or sweat. The lungs and liver likewise do not constitute it. Neither are the inner organs eye, nor yet the body's excrement and waste. The flesh and skin are not the eye, and neither are the body's warmth and breadth. The cavities within the frame are not the eye, and eye is not accounted for in sixfold consciousness. If the hearing consciousness is permanent, it follows that it's hearing all the time. And if there is no object, what does it cognize? On what grounds do you call it consciousness? If something that's unconscious knows, it follows that a stick has knowledge also. Therefore, in the absence of a thing to know, it's clear that consciousness will not arise. If the selfsame consciousness detects a form at that time, why does it not hear? Perhaps you say the sound's no longer there, then neither is there consciousness of sound. How could that which has the nature of a sound perceiver ever be transformed into a form perceiver? A single man, you say, can be both a son and a father, but these are merely names. His nature is not so. And likewise, pain, neutrality, and pleasure are neither fatherhood nor sonship, and we indeed have never yet observed a consciousness of form perceiving sound. But like an actor, you reply, it takes a different role and sees. If so, this consciousness is not a constant thing, and if its later mode is still the first, that's identity indeed, and never seen before. But its different modes, you say, are quite unreal. Its essence, therefore, you must now describe. You say that this is simply knowing. It follows that all beings are a single thing. I have to stop and say it feels like I feel like sort of like a giant rug has been pulled, or the in the cartoon where the the coyote goes over the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
he's he's just hanging there, and he knows gravity's about to take over, and he's like a little bit embarrassed about it. What has mind and what does not have mind are thus identical, for both are equal in existing. If the different kinds of mind are all unreal, what common basis can there be for them? Sorry, what common basis can there be for them? Something destitute of mind, we hold, is not a self, for mindlessness means matter, like a vase. But, you say, the self has consciousness when joined to mind. Then this refutes its nature of unconsciousness. If the self, moreover, is immutable, what change in it could mingling with the mind produce? And selfhood we might equally affirm of empty space, inert, and destitute of mind. If the self does not exist, you say, there is no link connecting actions with results. If when the deed is done, the doer is no more, who is there to reap the karmic fruit? The basis of the act and fruit are not the same. In both, a self is without scope for action. Let me say that again. The basis of the act and fruit are not the same. In both, a self is without scope for action. This is valid for you and us. What point is there, therefore, in our debate? A cause coterminous with its result is something quite impossible to see, and only in the context of a single mental stream can it be said that one who acts will later reap the fruit. The thoughts now past and those to come are not the self. They are no more, or are not yet. Is then the self the thought which now is born? If so, it sinks to nothing when the latter fades. For instance, we may take banana trees, cutting through the fibers, finding nothing. Likewise, analytical investigation will find no I, no underlying self. If beings, you will say, have no existence, who will be the object of compassion? Those whom ignorance imputes for those for whose sake we have pledged ourselves. If you ask, there are no beings, who will gain the fruit? It's true, it is through ignorance that they are said to be, but for the total vanquishing of sorrow, the goal which ignorance conceives should not be spurned. The source of sorrow is the pride of saying I. It's fostered and increased by false belief in self. To this you may believe that there is no redress, but meditation on no self will be the supreme way. You got to say something now on meditation on no self being the supreme way.
I feel like meditation on no self is really just the same as basically sitting and doing nothing. You're just sitting, not engaging with anything. So there's nothing to focus on, it's no self. And if there's no self, it's not like, meditation is sometimes called, I think this is the best type of meditation, to be honest. Meditation is often focusing on something. It could be focusing on a mantra, could be focusing on breath. It's usually focusing on something phenomenal, and it could be even like sometimes there's types of meditation where you look at a candle flame or something, and it's really it's to bring your mind to stillness, so there is a benefit in those types of meditation, of course, there's like, but meditation on no self, it's really giving up focusing on anything at all. And you're really just, you could say being, you could say being, you're here, you're still here, but you're not doing all the usual things that we usually do that keep the world in motion, you know. And maybe, ideally if you imagine that, it might be just that you're just sitting here and there's nothing, it's just like perfect peace. But that for most of us, that's not gonna happen like immediately. We might get moments of that, but that doesn't mean that you can't meditate on no self. It just means that anytime something comes, you're not giving attention or you're not engaged. And if you do, you just bring your attention back again. Well, you don't really bring your attention back. It's more like you open your attention. Like, 'cause you're not
Hmm.
really focusing your attention. You're not keeping your attention on one thing. It's like the attention is totally open, not focused anywhere. And in that way, you kind of also, I feel like something happens inside that it becomes more obvious that there's that no self space, I feel like becomes more obvious, because it might feel like you're sitting here doing nothing. but there's a sense of you sitting here doing nothing. But the more you sit in this kind of place or be here, and then there's no engagement with like the thoughts that come or any of the senses, but there might still be this sense of like I'm here. But when you're so quiet, you come to notice that actually even this feeling of just being here, that's also something phenomenal as well. So you come to notice that it becomes like more clear somehow that there's actually the no self is actually something not it's not that feeling that we take ourselves to be. It's not that one who's like sitting here being quiet. It's not the one who's not doing things. It's like there's something that naturally doesn't. And it's kind of maybe that, a reflection of the true no self when you're not doing anything. But you have to kind of not do anything to be able to see that somehow. You don't have to. It can also just spontaneously arise as well, and it does. So there's nothing you have to do for that. But I think to be in that space, so it's kind of another way of saying earlier on, he said about kind of practicing emptiness. So it's kind of, to me, that's the same thing, meditation on no self.
Mm,
And, there's lots of different meditations that do that or that say that. Even like the way Muji is sharing at the moment is that. I don't know what he called it, but like he's getting people at the moment, the way teachers change over time and how they share changes. So he's at the moment getting people to just sit for periods of time without engaging in anything. Just like don't engage with anything. Like you don't have to do anything. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to do anything. You're just like you're not even watching necessarily. You're not even watching the mind. You might notice something maybe comes and goes, but you're not even watching it. You're literally just not doing anything. And he reminds me a little bit of a Zen teacher at the moment. He has like two wooden sticks. And it's just like, because our minds will come up and start, maybe we forget that what we're supposed to be doing. So a little reminder. And also, in the Christian tradition or the contemplative tradition, there's probably loads, thousands that I don't know of, but there's something called centering prayer. And that's they say it's taken from a book called The Cloud of the Unknowing, which is really old text. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But it's basically also just sitting and not doing anything. And they say like everything is considered a thought. So even if you have an itch, it's considered a thought. If you have a vision of whoever your God is, like a Buddha appears in front of you, all lights and music and everything, like that's like we're not to be interested in that. It's a thought. Everything is a thought. And they have like a focus, like just a word, like you choose a word, and the word, when you say the word, it's just a reminder to yourself, really, that what I want is the action and presence of God within. So how
mm,
it's done, it's the same as that, sitting in no self, meditating on no self. That's what
mm,
guys are calling it. That's what
mm.
it means here. I don't know if someone else would say it means something different, but when I hear that, that's what it means.
Well, what's common apart from a desire to go be with Muji
Yeah.
is the just the thought or reflection on the hour or so 50 minutes that I like to sit in the mornings just sort of by myself. And
Mm,
um, there are periods where there's nothing. And when I
mm,
say that, I mean like I'm doing Who Am I a lot of the time,
mm,
and picking up remote sounds or sensing the space or what
mm.
have you. But I don't want to qualify and say the best, but reflecting now back on those periods, that
Yeah.
the times when there is nothing
Yeah.
seems sort of like the most profound somehow.
Yeah. But you see, we can't wait until there's nothing because, in a way, there's nothing even when there's loads of things.
Hmm.
So that's what meditating on no self is to choose to meditate on that nothing, even when our experience is full of loads of stuff.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
so our experience could be full of, like our body could be sick or, whatever it is, but it's just that we choose, and by choosing no self, it means that we're choosing to not engage with that.
Hmm.
And there's different things for different times. So of course asking who am I is great, because it's a way of leaving this, like it's taken a lot of stuff away so that then there'll only be, even if there's only a pretend I, maybe like at some point there's like something that you believe is I, but then eventually you'll see that that I is not. But like you have to say, who am I? So who am I is kind of meditating on no self in an active way, in a way. Because when you really look, it's not like really, when you ask who am I, you also have to let go of it, like who am I? And then you have to let go of everything, really, like to get the answer, like, because you're not going to find the answer in things, so to actually get the answer is you have to be very quiet and you have to reject everything, absolutely everything that comes. And it's because something in you knows that that's not it. Anything that comes, we have a inner wisdom that knows it, and somehow using that question, it helps us to tune in to that wisdom. And we don't need to, I don't feel like we need to be told, like from outside or something. It's like something in us knows, especially if we have interest in that question, like if there's like a sensation there and you're seeing it, okay, that's not me. Like he was saying, like I'm not the phlegm, I'm not um the sweat. Like so we know, so he's using it in kind of like vulgar kind of way, like it's like all them disgusting things. But in a way there's many of that type of stuff inside us as well, like in emotions and ideas as well. And they're not all like bad things. Like we have some ideas, that maybe, you know, well, a lot of them we probably don't think they're bad, like they give us a false sense of security and a false sense of happiness or something. But I suppose when we're being really honest with ourselves and whatever, questioning like who am I, or really meditating on no self, we have to admit, or we get to we get to admit to ourselves that okay, this isn't who I am either, even if it's something that I've been holding on to that kind of gives me a sense of, whatever it is, importance or security or peace. Like you're saying, like remember like the roadrunner when he runs out and he's just like floating there. So like we imagine that we're like there's something underneath us, but actually there isn't. So then you realize that actually there's nothing. Like oh.
Right,
So
right, right.
but it's not even
I've been
usually
pretending.
it's not even usually like that. Like oh, like it's like usually like very beautiful. Like you realize there's nothing. It's more like oh, like like it's kind of like a relief and like yeah, it's just a bad habit really to imagine stuff because actually it's the most beautiful thing and that's what we really want and that's what we're doing here. Like everything we do, we might not know it, but like everything we do is that we're searching for that. So of course, when we discover that we are that and like there's nothing we need to do for that, then of course that's like a wonderful, amazing thing. And even if you get a glimpse of that for 1 second, like you'll spend your whole life trying to deepen in it because it's
Mm,
so, oh yeah, good.
mm,
Hmm.
mm. So that embarrassment, I think, is a little bit of like the remnants of clinging. Like that
Yeah,
clinging
exactly.
is
So we
good.
notice all these things. So like it can be very subtle, and even like sweet things can come up. It's like, oh, and they're kind of like remnants or like different ways. Like our mind is very intelligent, it is intelligence really. It's born of intelligence. So it's like it's doing what it's meant to do. So even if we're um I don't know what the word is, but just totally enjoying the grace of the spirit or like this, like some idea will come, to that will be like a kind of a grasping thing. Like even if it's, I'm going to share this with everyone. Like, but like what's that? Like sharing it with everyone is like there is no everyone. Like have you forgotten so quickly. You've forgotten so quickly, that there actually is no everyone. But like we pick up those thoughts because they're kind of, there's something you could say there's something beautiful in them, or they're like altruistic or something, or there's loads of different subtle thoughts, and we don't notice that we're believing them until we notice. Well, I think it happens to most people that you kind of maybe even momentarily, like you just pick up some idea momentarily, that's actually an idea because everything, anything is an idea. And then it's like, oh, okay. So that's why it's like, you could say it's very important to meditate on no self. And I think that would be really as long as you have a body. It doesn't mean you have to sit
Mm,
down and meditate, it could be it could be when you're walking around, but it's just you're in recognition of yourself and you're not grasping. We just do it as best we can because we're probably like grasping sometimes when we don't know.
mm,
Like I definitely am. Like I say things, oh yeah, that was an idea. And it's just like you see it really when you're letting it go. You don't see it
mm.
when you're holding on to it. Because
There you go.
maybe sometimes you're just holding on by like I don't know, like it's not painful. Like some ideas you're holding on to, they're not that painful, but like they would become painful. And they are in a way, like in comparatively they're painful. Like you're not suffering like suffering, but like in comparative to like the truth of what we are, it's painful. And that's how it starts out. It starts off soft and all, like soft, and then it's like, but like eventually we get to where we are now in like the world, like wars and everything. Like, so you can't just have um those kind of soft, gentle ideas. Somehow it doesn't work like that. Like
Mm,
we give up absolutely everything. And we want
mm,
to, and it's a joy to do that. Because what are we giving up? We're giving up nothing.
mm,
All you're giving up is suffering and also the
mm,
potential to suffer. And I think that's
mm,
important as well, that we're giving up the potential to suffer, not just suffering. Because I think it comes a point where you're not really suffering, but you can see that the potential to suffer maybe still exists in us. And I think, I don't know if that is there as long as we have it seemingly, as long as we're seemingly in the world, like the potential, just because it can arise, like when you have a body, like mind and body go together, so the potential remains somehow. So that therefore it's important to meditate, you could say, on no self.
You make me so glad I paused there and got you to address the question. It's beautiful. I'm proud.
Don't be.
Mm.
Well, I read a few verses. Do we have time? No, we don't really have time, really. Well, we could read a few more. We read a few more.
Sure.
Okay. Which verse are we on?
I think we're on 78.
Okay, we should read 77 again just because it says about pride.
Okay.
The source of sorrow is the pride of saying I. See? So it's like we had that big conversation and then it ended up in I'm proud.
Right. And then I got so proud. And now I'm like, wait, but it really underlines the point you are
So yeah,
making, that it starts out soft and then the clinging has the potential to just grow.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
done being proud.
It's fostered and increased by false belief in self. But this you may believe that there is no regret. But meditation on no self will be the supreme way.
I
What we call the body is not feet or shins. The body, likewise, is not thighs or loins. It's not the belly, nor indeed the back. And from the chest and arms the body is not formed. The body is not ribs or hams, armpits, shoulders, bowels, or entrails. It is not the head, and it is not the throat. What is the body then in all of this? If the body spreads itself, and with the members coincides, its parts indeed are present in those parts. But where does body in itself abide? But if the body, single and entire, is present in the hands and other members, however many parts there are, the hands and all the rest, you'll find an equal quantity of bodies. If body is not outside or within its parts, how is it then residing in its members? And since it is not other than its parts, how can you say that it exists at all? Thus there is no body. It is true illusion, with regard to hands and other parts, that body as a notion is conceived, just as on account of its specific shape, a pile of stones is taken for a man. Reminds me
Oh,
of
he's
I was
it
playing
reminds you.
with Isham. I was playing with Isham the other day, and I think I had the flu as well before he did, and my body was really sore, and I was like, "Oh, I need a new body." And then like he made a body out of Jenga pieces, like wooden pieces, and then I was like pretending that I was like getting my like consciousness and like putting it into that other body, like the Jenga body. That's so funny. Like just like a pile of stones is taken for a man, so it's like a pile of wood. So I was like, I'll let that pile of wood be my body now.
Beautiful. In these last few verses, he's he's planting like a time bomb. It's if you go a, s- addressing your body as yourself
Mm,
and taking it as real. He's like, well, come on,
yeah,
we've just covered this. We can't be.
yeah. So that's it.
Okay.
Uh,
Just so glad, so glad.
it reminds me of A Course in Miracles again. There's a part when you get to I don't know, I think it may be lesson 200 or something like that, or maybe 150. And for the next like 200 days, you add it to every single lesson. And it's I'm not body, I am free, for I'm still as God created me. It really gets in on you because it's like all the time. Yeah, it's really good.
Mm.
Are you still doing it? Or,
It's been a while, but I got through probably I'm into the teens now.
yeah.
So I have it here on the Kindle where Shantideva lives too.
Oh, yeah.
So and it's also my timer in meditation. So I just need to pick the habit back up. But the process proceeds slowly.
Yeah. So thank you for today. I appreciate your presence, your time. wisdom.
Oh, so grateful for the time with you.
Yeah.
What works for you for doing it next time? Should we go the first of the month, or do you need a full month to go like the middle of next month?
No, we can go the first of the month.
Okay.
Well, like I think Monday is probably good. Monday suits me better. I think that suits you better.
Okay, so maybe I reach out the weekend before the month turns over and see
Yeah.
that you're free that Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So let's remember that we're not a body.
Now, what's the rest of the word? We're as God.
I'm not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me.
I'm still as God created me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll remember that one. Love you very much. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Bye.